In 1993, the Cooper family sat down to dinner and ate Hamburger Helper. Not because they wanted to, because it was all they could afford. George was working part-time. Mary had left the church and lost her income. The family was hemorrhaging money. And in the middle of that dinner, while Missy announced to the table that they were officially poor, and George insisted they were fine, Sheldon Cooper did the math in his head and calculated that the family would run out of money before Christmas. After dinner, the twins went to Sheldon's room and brainstormed ways to save the family. Over the next few days, Sheldon pitched multiple ideas. He suggested going on Jeopardy! He pitched a Star Trek episode to his father. He designed a system of decentralized digital currency based on mathematical scarcity that people could pay to own. He described Bitcoin. In 1993, 16 years before Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper, a 12-year-old boy sitting in a bedroom in Medford, Texas, eating Hamburger Helper, described an asset class that is currently worth over $2 trillion. His brother called it a scam. His sister did not understand it. His family laughed, and the next morning Missy walked into a comic book store and got a minimum wage job. One twin designed a $1 trillion financial system. The other twin got hired at a comic shop. And here is the part that will ruin you. Only one of them actually helped the family, and it was not the genius. This episode broke my brain. Not because of the Bitcoin thing. Everyone talks about the Bitcoin thing. Every list of young Sheldon fun facts mentions that Sheldon basically invented cryptocurrency. That is the surface-level observation that you find on every fan page and every Reddit thread. What nobody talks about is what the episode actually says about intelligence. About the difference between having a billion-dollar idea and being able to execute a $5 one. About the gap between genius and usefulness. Because this episode is not really about money. It is about the two types of intelligence that exist in the Cooper family, and which one the family chose to invest in, and which one actually paid off. And the answer is so brutal, it should be printed on a bumper sticker and mailed to every parent who thinks their gifted child is the most important person in the household. There is a concept in educational psychology called the practicality gap. It describes the distance between theoretical knowledge and practical application. A person can understand rocket science and not be able to change a tire. A person can explain quantum mechanics and not be able to hold a job interview. The knowledge exists in the brain. The ability to deploy that knowledge in the real world does not. Sheldon Cooper has the widest practicality gap in television history. His brain can design a financial system worth trillions. His life cannot produce the $500,000 needed to buy the computer that runs it. He can describe blockchain technology 16 years before it exists. He cannot walk into a store and convince someone to hire him. He can solve equations that stump Nobel laureates. He cannot solve the problem of his family running out of money before Christmas. Missy Cooper has no practicality gap at all. Her intelligence is not theoretical. It is immediate. She walks into a comic book store with zero knowledge of comic books and gets hired the same day by using charm, conversation, and information she stole from Sheldon's collection the night before. She does not understand blockchain. She understands people. And people are what hand you a paycheck at the end of the week. The Cooper family invested 20 years in the twin who understands equations. They invested nothing in the twin who understands people. And when the money ran out, the equation twin designed something nobody could use, and the people twin walked into a store and came home with a job. Let me set the scene, because the details matter more than most people realize. The family is sitting at the dinner table. Mary has served Hamburger Helper. For anyone who does not know, Hamburger Helper is a boxed meal kit. You add ground beef, it costs about $2, it feeds a family. It is the meal you make when you cannot afford the meal you want to make. Missy looks at the table and says the line that starts everything. It is official. We are poor. George immediately pushes back. He says they are not poor. There is hamburger in there. And right there in that exchange is the entire Cooper family dynamic compressed into 4 seconds of dialogue. The reality is clear. The denial is instant. And the children are left to figure out which one is true. Georgie, who is already working and contributing, says he likes Hamburger Helper. He says it really does help your hamburger make a great meal. That line is played for comedy, but it is secretly devastating. Georgie is a teenager who has already made peace with poverty because fighting it requires energy he is spending on jobs. He has adapted. He has lowered his expectations. He has learned to find comfort in what is available instead of reaching for what is not. That is not optimism, that is survival programming. Then Missy says grace, and her prayer is the most honest thing anyone in the Cooper family says in the entire episode. She blesses the food, she asks for a good hair day for school pictures, and then she adds, "Please let my dad find a full-time job before we lose cable. Amen." Before we lose cable. That is how a child measures poverty. Not in mortgage payments or electricity bills or college fund projections. In cable television, the thing she watches after school, the thing that connects her to the world outside Medford, the thing that will disappear if her father does not find work. An adult measures poverty in numbers. A child measures it in what they are about to lose. After dinner, Missy goes to Sheldon's room. This is important. She goes to him, not the other way around. Missy initiates the conversation about money. Missy is the one who says we need to do something. The popular twin is the one with the urgency. The genius twin is the one with the calculator. Sheldon does the math. Based on their parents' part-time income, they will run out of money by the end of the year. Missy asks the only question that matters to a child. Before or after Christmas? Sheldon says before. And that single word lands on Missy like a brick, because before Christmas means no presents, no tree, no morning in pajamas opening boxes. The one day a year that a child in a struggling family gets to feel like the struggle paused. And here is where the twins diverge. Because their reaction to the same problem reveals everything about who they are and what kind of intelligence they carry. Missy's first instinct is practical. She asks what they are good at. What can they do right now to make money? She is thinking in terms of action, immediate steps, things that produce results today. Her brain is wired for the present tense. Sheldon's first instinct is theoretical. He starts designing systems. He starts building models. He starts thinking in terms of concepts that require infrastructure that does not exist. His brain is wired for the future tense, and the future tense does not pay the cable bill. Let me walk through Sheldon's ideas because each one is more revealing than the last. Idea 1. Jeopardy. Missy suggests Sheldon go on Jeopardy. He refuses immediately, not because he could not win, he would destroy Jeopardy, but because he does not like answers in the form of questions. He likes his answers in the form of answers, and his questions in the form of questions. Thank you. His family is running out of money. His sister just asked for a good hair day and cable television in the same prayer, and Sheldon rejects a guaranteed income source because the format bothers him. Not the difficulty, not the travel, not the logistics, the format. He would rather be broke than participate in a system that presents information in a way he finds aesthetically displeasing. That is not a quirk. That is a disability disguised as a preference. The inability to tolerate a format that could save your family is not intellectual superiority. It is inflexibility so severe that it functions as self-sabotage. And the show plays it as adorable. Idea 2. Star Trek. Sheldon decides to sell story ideas to Star Trek. He writes a script about the Enterprise falling through a time tunnel where Worf becomes a Worf from 12 minutes in the future. He pitches it to George, and George, the man everyone calls not that bright, immediately identifies a critical plot hole that Sheldon cannot resolve. Think about that. George Cooper, the man Sheldon will spend 20 years calling dumb, found a flaw in Sheldon's science fiction script that Sheldon's own genius could not fix. George's intelligence is not academic, it is logical, practical. He sees problems in real terms, not theoretical terms, and his input kills Sheldon's idea in 60 seconds. Idea 3. And this is the one that changes everything. Sheldon goes to Missy and explains his new idea. He says, when I say make money, you might think I am talking about counterfeiting, but no. I am talking about creating a unique decentralized digital currency that people can pay to own. An open source currency that has value due to mathematical scarcity. In 1993, a 12-year-old boy in Medford, Texas, over hamburger helper, just described Bitcoin. Now let me be clear about what this means. Bitcoin was introduced in 2008 by someone using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. The Bitcoin white paper describes exactly what Sheldon describes in this scene. Decentralized, digital, mathematical scarcity, open source. The value comes from the scarcity, not from a government or a bank. Sheldon described the foundational principles of a technology that is currently worth over $2 trillion. He described it to his sister. Missy's response is immediate and devastating. Sounds like a scam. Sheldon tries to explain. Missy doubles down. Sounds pretty scammy. Sheldon attempts one more time. Missy cuts him off. You say a bunch of fancy jibber-jabber. People do not want to admit they are too stupid to understand. Then they give you their money. And here is the thing that kills me. Missy is wrong about the technology, but she is right about the psychology. That is exactly how early cryptocurrency was adopted. People did not understand the technology. They did not want to admit they did not understand. So they invested anyway. Missy's description of Sheldon's cryptocurrency scheme is the most accurate description of the 2017 crypto bubble that has ever been written, by a 12-year-old who was insulting her brother in 1993. Sheldon then goes to Georgie. Georgie listens. Georgie is sympathetic, but Georgie tells Sheldon the truth. People will not understand this. It is too advanced. You need a computer that costs $500,000. This is not going to work. 2 siblings. 2 rejections. Both wrong about the idea. Both right about the execution. The idea is worth trillions. The execution requires resources the Coopers do not have. And the gap between the idea and the execution is the entire story of Sheldon Cooper's relationship with his family. He is always right about the theory. He is always wrong about the room, and while Sheldon was designing a financial system that would not exist for 16 years, Missy walked into a comic book store and got a job. Here is how she did it. The night before, she went through Sheldon's comic book collection. She memorized enough information to sound knowledgeable. She learned which titles were popular. She learned which characters were trending. She absorbed just enough data to fake expertise for the length of a job interview. Then she walked in. She talked to the owner. She was charming. She was confident. She used Sheldon's information as if it were her own. And she got hired. Same day, minimum wage, starting immediately. Now here is the detail that the show plays as a sibling rivalry joke, but is actually a profound statement about intelligence. Missy used Sheldon's knowledge to get the job. She did not have her own comic book expertise. She borrowed his. She took theoretical knowledge from a genius and converted it into practical value in less than 24 hours. Sheldon cannot do this. Sheldon has more knowledge in his brain than Missy will accumulate in her entire life. But Sheldon cannot convert that knowledge into a paycheck. He cannot walk into a room and charm someone into giving him money. He cannot read a person's needs and present himself as the solution. He cannot do the thing that Missy does naturally. He cannot sell. And selling is how money arrives. Not equations, not white papers, not decentralized digital currencies. Selling. A person walks into a room. Another person walks out with less money and more satisfaction. That transaction is the foundation of every economy that has ever existed. And Missy Cooper understands it at 12 years old, in a way that Sheldon Cooper will never understand at any age. And here is where the show reveals something about Sheldon that most people miss. He is jealous. Genuinely jealous. Of Missy. Of minimum wage. Missy comes home from the comic book store and tells Sheldon about her job. She mentions that the new issue of Green Lantern just came in. She rubs it in. She is working in a place that sells the things Sheldon loves, and she got there first. Not through knowledge, through charm, and Sheldon cannot handle it. The genius who just designed a trillion-dollar financial system is jealous of his twin sister's minimum wage job at a comic book store. Because the job is real. The cryptocurrency is theoretical. The job produces money this week. The cryptocurrency produces money in 2009. The job is tangible. The cryptocurrency is a dream that requires a computer that costs more than the Cooper house. Sheldon's jealousy is the show's quiet admission that intelligence without execution is just frustration. Sheldon knows he is smarter than Missy. He knows his idea is better than her job. He knows that in a rational universe his contribution should be worth more than hers. But the universe is not rational. The universe is practical, and practical says the girl who can talk to people eats. The boy who can talk to equations waits. And now let me zoom out, because this episode is not just about one dinner and one brainstorm session. This episode is a compressed version of the entire Cooper family's mistake. For years, the Cooper family invested everything in Sheldon. Money, attention, time, energy. They reorganized their lives around his brain. They drove him to colleges. They funded his programs. They sacrificed Georgie's education and Missy's development and George's career and Mary's mental health on the altar of Sheldon's IQ. And in the one moment when the family needed saving, when the money was running out and the cable was about to be cut and Christmas was about to disappear, the investment did not pay off. Sheldon's brain produced an idea that was worth trillions in theory and $0 in practice. The family's entire bet on the genius twin produced nothing when they needed it most. Meanwhile, the twin they invested nothing in. The twin they did not drive to special schools. The twin they did not fund with special programs. The twin whose emotional intelligence was proven by a university study and then immediately forgotten. That twin walked into a store and came home with money. The family bet on Sheldon. Missy paid the bill. And this is where I need to talk about the thing this episode is actually about. Because it is not about cryptocurrency, and it is not about comic books, and it is not about Hamburger Helper. It is about the two types of intelligence that exist in every family, and which one gets valued and which one gets ignored. Sheldon has analytical intelligence, the ability to process information, identify patterns, and generate theoretical solutions. This type of intelligence is measurable. It shows up on tests, it produces grades, it wins awards, it is visible and quantifiable, and the education system is designed to identify it and reward it. Missy has social intelligence, the ability to read people, navigate situations, build rapport, and convert relationships into outcomes. This type of intelligence is not measurable. It does not show up on tests. It does not produce grades. It does not win awards. It is invisible and unquantifiable, and the education system does not have a single metric for detecting it. The Cooper family valued what they could see. Test scores, academic achievements, college acceptances. They could point at Sheldon and say there is proof that we are doing something right. They could not point at Missy and say anything, because her intelligence does not leave evidence that adults recognize as intelligence. But when the Hamburger Helper hit the table and the money ran out and someone needed to walk into a room and walk out with a paycheck, Missy's invisible intelligence was the only intelligence that worked. Sheldon's visible intelligence produced a white paper. Missy's invisible intelligence produced cash. And here is where it gets really dark when you connect it to the Big Bang Theory. Because the Bitcoin irony is not just a fun fact. It is a verdict on the entire franchise. Sheldon moves to Caltech. He becomes a theoretical physicist. He spends his career producing ideas. Brilliant ideas. Ideas that advance human understanding of the universe. Ideas that win a Nobel Prize. But the Nobel Prize comes with a cash award of approximately $1 million, split between Sheldon and Amy. Bitcoin, the idea Sheldon described at 12 years old, is currently worth over $2 trillion. If the Cooper family had invested even $100 into Sheldon's cryptocurrency idea when it eventually launched in 2009, they would be worth more than every physicist at Caltech combined. But they could not invest, because in 1993 they did not have $100. They had Hamburger Helper, they had part-time jobs, they had a genius son whose ideas required resources they could not provide, and they had a daughter whose minimum wage job at a comic book store was the only thing standing between the Cooper family and a Christmas with no presents. Sheldon's idea was worth trillions. The family could not afford to believe in it. And the tragedy is not that they were wrong. The tragedy is that they were right. They were right to choose the immediate over the theoretical. They were right to value the paycheck over the white paper. They were right because a family that is running out of money before Christmas does not need a vision of the future. It needs grocery money on Friday. Missy was right to get a job. Georgie was right to call it a scam. The family was right to laugh. And Sheldon was right about everything except the one thing that mattered. Timing. The idea was right. The family was right. And both of those things being true at the same time is the most painful sentence in this entire franchise. This episode is not about Sheldon being dumb and Missy being smart. That would be too simple and too wrong. Sheldon's idea was genuinely visionary. He described blockchain technology 16 years before it existed. He understood mathematical scarcity at 12 years old. His brain saw something that the greatest financial minds on Earth would not see for another decade and a half. But vision without execution is a museum piece. It sits behind glass. You can look at it. You can admire it, you cannot eat it. And the Cooper family needed to eat. Missy is not smarter than Sheldon. She is more deployable. Her intelligence arrives in the present tense. It works immediately. It converts into value on contact. It does not require a $500,000 computer or a 16-year wait. It requires a smile, a conversation, and the willingness to fake knowledge about Green Lantern for $8 an hour. The Cooper family ate Hamburger Helper on a Tuesday night in 1993. George said they were fine. They were not fine. Missy prayed for cable and a good hair day. Sheldon calculated bankruptcy by December, and two 12-year-old twins went to a bedroom and tried to save a family that the adults in the house could not save themselves. One of them designed a financial system worth $2 trillion. The other one got a job at a comic book store for minimum wage. The genius needed a computer that cost $500,000. The popular girl needed a smile and someone else's comic book knowledge. 25 years later, the genius is in Stockholm accepting a Nobel Prize. The popular girl is separated and working at Fuddruckers. The family invested everything in the twin who could not save them, and nothing in the twin who did. And somewhere in a bedroom in Medford, Texas, a 12-year-old girl is going through her brother's comic book collection, memorizing characters she does not care about, learning a world that is not hers, preparing to walk into a store tomorrow and pretend to be someone she is not. Because her family needs money by Friday, not in 16 years. Friday. She did not understand blockchain. She did not understand mathematical scarcity. She did not understand decentralized digital currency. She understood one thing. Someone needed to walk into a room and walk out with a paycheck. And the genius was not going to do it. So she did. The idea was worth trillions. The job was worth $8 an hour, and the family survived on $8. Not trillions. 8. If this hit you the way it hit me, you know what to do.